welcome to Oakland, everyone. I had a whole outfit prepared, and I'm like, no, this shirt is for this night. Alright. So, whoever finds the fox gets to fuck the fox. These are the words that are written on the dry erase board of my living room, and there are 25 half-naked women all over my apartment. It is almost 2 a.m., and the fox hunt is about to begin. But I'm getting ahead of myself. When Dixie asked me if I'd be willing to tell a story at the girl-on-girl themed Bawdy, I said immediately, yes, of course, I would love to tell a story at the Bawdy. And I've been fucking girls long enough, right? Like, there's gotta be a story in there somewhere. And then like 48 hours later, I was racking my brain through like every girl I've fucked since I was 17 years old, and I was coming up blank. Yeah, I know, right? Like, what? So I'm like, well, there was that time with Brianna when we were skinny dipping and we ran to the Baptists, and that was kind of funny. And then there was that Scrabble game that was like epic. But yeah. And then I was like, oh, there was that time with Lauren and the yeast infection, but if I tell that story on stage and on camera, I'm never getting laid again. And so I'm like, fuck, okay, so I decided that I needed to take matters into my own hands, right? And I mean, basically because like, cock is always funny all the time, right? But I take pussy very seriously. And like the fact that I didn't have a story was just proof that like I'm just so good at girl sex, nothing stupid ever happens, right? I'm just that good. But fair enough. Maybe I just needed to like push it a little bit. And so I was like, okay, well, so I decided I needed to create something. And I know what you're thinking, like, you know, stories happen organically, right? Like, you can't just, like, create a context for a story to happen, because if you do, then is the story actually happening? Are you actually observing real life, or is it just a fiction context set on real life? And then if you're part of it, are you observing the story, or are you observing yourself observing something? Like, I'm a writer. These are the things you think about, right? And so I'm like, I had no choice, right? For the sake of you guys, for the sake of Dixie, for the sake of science, no, nay, for the sake of art, I had to throw a ridiculous lesbian orgy. So, have you guys read The Secret before? Okay, like, I've actually never read it, but living in NorCal, you kind of absorb a little bit of it. So I'm like, I think the way it works is that, like, you put something out into the universe and then the universe reciprocates. So I sent out the invitation to the ridiculous lesbian orgy, and not 3 minutes later, I hear from downstairs, hey, Allie? It's my roommate, Lydia. Hey, Allie, my mom's staying here this weekend. That's cool, right? I'm like, no, that's not going. No, I'm throwing a ridiculous lesbian orgy. No, your mom can't stay. But then I hear a voice in my head saying, Allison, you called this into being. You can't just send it away. And so instead I say, you know, yeah, Lydia, that's cool. No, Nate, I insist your mother stay here this weekend. So after that, the ridiculous just kept on happening. Jiz Lee almost murdered herself on Market Street by like delivering a Hitachi magic wand that got stuck in the front spokes of their bike, and they went flipping over the bike. And luckily, Jiz Lee survived. And the Hitachi, however, did not. But we're all happy that they're still here. Anyway, so then I sent out the invitation Tuesday. On Friday night, my apartment is filled with 25 naked women. And I consider this a success already. But like the ridiculous starts immediately. We have Hitachi races, you know, and then we have Hitachi Jeopardy, right? Which is very hard to do, right? Like, it's hard. But these are all stories for another body. What I'm here to tell you about is the fox hunt. So, how many of you guys have been to orgies or play parties before? It's okay, you're not on camera. You can tell me. Okay. Well, for Tokyo as well. Okay, you're invited. Okay, so you know how there's like usually like kind of like a first like fuck crazy like hump that happens right after, like so you're like the nervous energy, that it kind of mellows out, and then the next thing happens like really late when like everybody's like finally asking for what they really want and fucking the people that they really want to fuck. So we're like here. Right? It's almost 2 a.m. and my friend decides that she wants a scene of a fox hunt. And it's like the night before the royal wedding, everybody's feeling kind of sentimental about Britain, and so we're like, okay, sure, yeah. And so like she congregates enough women to like do the hunt. And so like there are like 5 of us and we're like, okay, what do we do? And she's explaining this beautiful British accent. She's like, okay, so like here are the details of a fox hunt. And we're like, none of us signed up for blood play. This is kind of creepy. But she insists that it's actually not like no cutting off tail and stamping forehead. Actually what's going to be happening is we're gonna rip off the bandana and then fuck her. And I'm like, oh, we can do that. I'm totally in for that. Yeah, that's perfect. So she's explained the details. There's like, going to be a hunt mistress, and then there's going to be hound dogs and hunters, and as she's explained this, my friend is like, oh my god, wait a second. She runs to her bag, and she pulls out a bunch of animal hats. And there's a tiger, and there's a bunny rabbit, and there's a fox, and then there's a panda bear, and then... There's a wolf, motherfuckers. If you know anything about me, I have a certain penchant for wolves, particularly lesbian werewolves. So I'm actually kind of like finding my inner furry now, because like now I'm in it. And she's like kind of whipping us all into a frenzy, and we're all kind of drunk and exhausted, and we're making noises, so there's like people like, and I'm like, right? And so she gets a 30-second lead, and we're all like whipping it up, and then all of a sudden we hear a key in the front door. And we're standing here, and at one point she had actually told us, she's like, oh, you know, you want to put on strap-ons. I'm like, we're all wearing strap-ons. So we're all standing in bra, panties, huge hard-ons, and animal hats. And my roommate and her mom just walk in. And so we're like, oh, she waves, and we all wave. And she's like, okay, bye. And she just goes to the guest room, and she just closes the door, and we're like, okay. So we sound the drum, and Foxy gets a 30-second head start. And now, like, if you've ever been to Fruitopia, my loft, you know, it's pretty big, but it's not like English countryside. So it's like, she gets a head start, but like, we're pretty close after her. So we run after her, and the hunt mistress is, you know, running up the stairs, and she stops and she sniffs. And we're kind of getting into it in kind of a creepy way, right? Yeah, okay. And so the hunt mistress, she goes up to the office, nothing. And then she goes over, and we wait, we listen. And then she walks to the door frame of my bedroom, and she stopped, and there's this like really intense pregnant pause. And then all of a sudden, a crash from my closet, and Foxy jumps from the hamper in an explosion of my dirty underwear all over my room. And she leaps to the bed, and the hunt mistress, Bunny Rabbit, is right there, and she grabs her by the wrist, and I like let my instincts just guide me, and like I got the full hound dog thing going, and I just run over to her, and I just grab her, and I drag her onto her back, onto the floor, and now she's like kicking and screaming and punching and elbowing and getting all insane, and I'm just like holding on as hard as I can, and everybody's screaming, flip her over, flip her over, flip her over! So I flip her over, and she's got her face buried in my tits and her ass in the air, and then Bunny Rabbit grabs the handkerchief, defiantly holding it up and throws it to the ground. And then she reaches onto my bureau and pulls down a condom and just slips it on her cock. And we're like, oh my god. This is a gangbang. So I have Foxy in my tits, and all I can see of her is this. And so her like foxy-like mendicant eyes are staring up at me. And her ass is in the air. And Bunny Rabbit lives up to her namesake and gives it to her really, really good. And then after Bunny Rabbit, then there's Tiger, and Tiger gives it to her really good, and then there's Panda Bear. And like the whole time I'm lying underneath, and I'm just kind of like enjoying the motion lying on my dirty underwear. The motion of the kind of massage on my back with the humping motion. It's very exciting. And then, so like, I'm kind of having this moment when I watch like Panda Bear like giving it to her. And, like, all I see is like the fox head. And then cresting over her shoulder is a little panda head. All right. So I have this moment of like, this is what you do when you declare something powerfully. The secret fucking works, right? The secret fucking works. Like, the secret is the reason I had 25 naked dykes humping in my apartment within 4 days. The secret is the reason I found my inner furry, okay? I'm proud of that. The secret is the reason that all this whole thing, the reason I'm here right now telling you the story is because of the fucking secret. And you know what? I think the secret could save the fucking world because I don't know anybody else who's ever gotten a panda to maiden captivity.